I've worked for huge names, people like Alex Hormozi, Iman Gadzhi. I get asked all the time, how are you making the money that you're making now? What do you do for a living? 4 years ago, I was working dead-end jobs, serving, bartending, warehouse jobs, and doing whatever I can to make money. Now at this point, I'm making over 30K a month. What I'm gonna do today is show you guys the best way to get to a consistent 20 to 30K per month. My hopes with this video is that I could shortcut your time frame and shorten your process to get to the lifestyle and the goals that you want to live. 3 years ago, I was just like you. I had these big goals. I had a big vision for myself, being able to buy what I want, go where I want, eat at the nice steakhouses, but I did not know how to get there. All these gurus are selling you courses and telling you different ways on how to make 10K per month. And although those vehicles do have minimal potential, most people do not have the skill set or the knowledge to actually succeed with them. Now, before I dive into the vehicle, I do want to give a little bit of background on myself. I got accepted to school to go for engineering. Ended up dropping out of school and got kicked out of my parents' house for it. Once I was living on my own, I was working all types of jobs and I hated the life that I was living. I was working endless hours, working with people that I disliked and people that did not have the same vision and goals as myself. I remember when I was working 2 jobs, serving food in the morning from 9 a.m. to about 3 p.m. I would take a 2-hour break and then drive to another job where I would bartend from 5 p.m. up until 2 a.m. sometimes and barely bringing home $2,000 to $3,000 within a month. It was ridiculous. Then when I turned 20, something crazy happened. I found out I was having a daughter. I was not ready. I was scared shitless. I was working jobs that barely allowed me to take care of myself, let alone take care of a daughter. My parents had me at 18 and 19, and I grew up not seeing them as much as I wanted to. My parents were always working, and I did not want that for my daughter. There was a big event that happened for me that really made me realize I needed to make a change. Now, my daughter was 6 months old, and I remember she was growing out of her clothes really fast, and it was winter. Granted, I live in California, so winter here is not too bad, but my daughter was shivering at night. I remember having to call my cousin and borrow $300. That way I could pay for pajamas for her to be warm in at night. And I remember feeling so ashamed that I had to call someone to borrow money. That way I could support my daughter. That was the thing that made me realize if I did not make a change, I was gonna be stuck in this position for the rest of my life. I do not want you guys to go through the same thing that I did to realize that you need to make a change. I was just like you, searching on YouTube, what is the best way to make money? What is the best way to break free? What's the best online business to start? Not all these different people promoting different ways to make money. People telling you to start an e-commerce brand, or start an agency, or Logan Paul telling you to invest in a crypto. And I bought into those paths and the people who were promoting and selling those courses as well. So I started an e-commerce brand. Now, don't worry, I am not here to tell you to start an e-commerce brand, and we'll get to that in a second. The first store I started ultimately flopped. I dumped a bunch of money into it. It was a fitness brand. Second store, same thing happened. Ended up wasting a bunch of money. Then the third store that I started, the first 6 months, I made $0. It was actually a baby store. Funny enough, considering I had a daughter. It wasn't until I started following this guy, Alex Hormozi, and I bought his book, $100 Million Offers, and I ended up using that book to structure my offer and scale my store. You guys are probably thinking, wow, he finally saw it. He started making money with an online business. I remember I was doing 20, 30K a month in revenue with my e-commerce store and barely bringing home 2 to 3K per month. That's less than what I was making as a bartender and server, working 2 jobs at a time. I was watching this video that Alex Hormozi posted where he talked about this 20-year-old kid on his team that was making over $20,000 a month profit. You guys, I was making $20,000 a month revenue. This kid was making $20,000 a month profit. I did not care what he was doing. All I thought in my head is that I have to reach out and figure out how to apply and do the same thing that he was doing. So that's what I did. I had some knowledge on Alex Hormozi. I knew he had a company called Gym Launch. I went straight from watching that video to searching Gym Launch on my iPhone and found the best way to apply. I remember telling my parents I had an interview for some YouTuber and them asking me what's the job that I was getting into. I said I had no idea. Turns out it was for a sales position on his team. I have never done sales before. Within a couple days of submitting my application, someone on his team reached out to me. I attended that interview and ended up doing really well. They decided to bring me onto their team as a cold caller. I had no idea what a cold caller was. Turns out my job was to work from home. I had a list of about 200 people that I would call throughout the day. It would take me 3 or 4 hours, and I would try to book them for a call to speak with a higher up person on the team who would sell them that actual product or service. With my first month, I made about $3,000 or $4,000. My second month, I did about $5,000 or $6,000. And then I decided to go all in. A lot of people tell you if you start something new or start an online business, to quit everything you're doing and go all in. That is probably some of the worst advice that you could ever get. Within a month, they started marching me up the ladder and promoted me to the position, the same as that 20-year-old that was making over $20,000 a month. And I was able to learn underneath him. And he actually introduced me to a guy named Iman Gadzhi. I had no idea who Iman was, but he was young, he was making a lot of money, so I decided to follow him on Instagram. One day, about 6 months into me working in a gym launch, I saw Iman post on his Instagram story that he was looking to hire closers and the on-target earnings were anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000 a month. So I decided to apply. Within a week, they called me and booked me for an interview. My first interview was a group interview, and I was extremely nervous. There was a lot of people on that interview who had way more sales experience than me, a lot older than I was, full on beards. And I was this 20-year-old kid joining the interview from my parents' garage, trying to land a role on the team. There was over 500 people that applied. I was the only person that got brought onto the team. Now, within a month of me working for Iman Gadzhi, I had my first $15,000 check. Month 2, I made over $20,000. Month 3, I made over $35,000 in take-home commissions. And it was life-changing. I remember when I made that $30,000 month, going home to my dad and showing him that I collected over $300,000 for the company in revenue. I showed my dad the numbers and he stared at it for a second and he said, "That's cool, son. What'd you make, 2% off of that?" I looked at him and I said, "I actually made over 10%. He did the math in his head and realized that he made over $30,000 that month, and his jaw dropped. I finally found the way to make the money and live the lifestyle that I want to live. Now, I'm not here to sell you guys anything. I realize that there's a lot of people that may be in similar shoes or positions that I was a couple years ago, and I want to be able to give you the vehicle to make the change and get to 10, 20, 30K per month. I'm gonna squash everybody that's selling you a $3,000 or $5,000 course. I'm gonna give you all that shit for free. I do have a private group that you could apply for. I'll have someone contact you to vet that you're a good fit. I do wanna make sure that the people who come into this are ready and willing to implement what's being taught. Click that link, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.